What's happened is, I just saw a headline this morning. Sam Darnold, favorite to win MVP. Seattle is going to be the only team talked about for the next 6-7 days. Even though New England was number 2 in scoring, number 4 in defense, and these are the 2 best point differential teams in the league. Seattle 1, New England 2. People are talking about it like it's going to be a blowout. And I think what happened is the Patriots lost to the Steelers and the Raiders in September, and people stopped watching them play. They were in a lot of 1 o'clock Eastern windows. And I remember what I kept saying when they lost early. J-Mac was crushing me, and I said, you guys, you have to slow play this team. 15 new starters. They have to break it before they rebuild it. They were a mess. I love their draft. They're going to have 50 new starters. Check back late October, early November. Then we can evaluate them. So starting Sunday, September 8th, they go and play Carolina, a team that could have beaten the LA Rams twice, and they crush Carolina. Playoff Carolina. Blow their doors off. And I want to remind you, yes, their schedule, when you look at New England's schedule, it's almost worthy of a laugh. It's hard to find the good games. It is a lot of New Orleans, Tennessee, Cleveland Jets, Atlanta Giants, Baltimore without Lamar Jackson kind of stuff. I mean, it's just to give you an example, it was the easiest schedule in the league. Second easiest was Denver, and Denver played Green Bay, Houston, Philly, the Chargers twice, the Chiefs and Mahomes and Reed twice, and they played the Colts early in the season, did Denver, when Denver lost to the Colts because the Colts were actually good and they were healthy. So this is the easiest schedule I've ever seen. But here's the whammy. 7 of the last 10 Super Bowl champs have had a top 10 easiest schedule.
Well, of course, that's logical, given you have the highest probability of reaching the Super Bowl. It's elementary arithmetic. All right, before we dive in, Seattle Seahawks faithful, a quick reminder. Please subscribe and watch this video in its entirety. Consuming the full video and hitting that subscribe button is, indisputably, the most effective method to bolster this channel's expansion, enabling me to continue producing the highest caliber Seattle Seahawks material available. This is the juncture at which I feel profound satisfaction regarding how these events have transpired, as it highlights a significant advantage afforded to someone in my role. Let's be honest, you're perpetually in a mode of self-promotion, correct? Whether you're in media, producing videos, on YouTube, social platforms, or wherever. And I would contend that one of my most substantial promotional assets is the reality that I consume every one of these contests. I view all these programs, and I pore over all these remarks. Consequently, I possess a comprehensive grasp, if I may offer my own assessment, of the broader discourse. This doesn't imply omniscience, but I have a thorough comprehension of the overarching conversation, genuinely, of how all these situations are developing. Because I did view those seemingly arbitrary, as Colin termed them, 1 p.m. fixtures on the East Coast or what have you, however he precisely articulated it. I watched those games. I viewed the matchups against the Jets. I also observed every contest involving Seattle. I consumed all the analysis shows and heard the discussions that were occurring or failing to occur. I read the commentary. I produced the videos and then scrutinized the reactions to them. Firstly, asserting that nobody is genuinely discussing the New England Patriots is simply and fundamentally erroneous. That's point number 1. Secondly, claiming that spectators simply ceased viewing their games, and that this constitutes part of the issue, is incorrect. No, the issue is that people lack respect for the caliber of opponents they defeated. That is the underlying premise which was subsequently reinforced throughout their postseason journey. We witnessed the Seattle Seahawks deliver a monumental performance versus the Los Angeles Rams. They had a colossal game against the 49ers, another colossal game against the 49ers, and yet another colossal game against the Los Angeles Rams. The Seahawks merely executed their responsibilities and performed football at the most elite tier. At the most elite tier. We did not observe that from the New England Patriots. Certainly, we can commend them. We can offer plaudits for what they have accomplished. Absolutely. And again, this comes from an individual who watched all these games. I saw the nondescript game between the New England Patriots and the Cleveland Browns and the Atlanta Falcons. I viewed the game against the New York Jets that likely many individuals weren't preparing to watch. I saw that game. I watched the contests against the Bengals, the Giants, and so forth. And so you observed them face the Bills and they were defeated, correct? They lost. They had that frantic second half with the Bills and they lost. Then they confronted the Ravens, a game which, by all accounts, they ought to have lost. But due to the manner in which that game progressed, Lamar's injury, I believe a fumble by Derrick Henry or maybe Z, I forget the exact player, it simply felt like, wow, the Patriots caught a break there. Then they played the Jets, whom nobody concerns themselves with. Then they faced the Miami Dolphins, whom nobody concerns themselves with. All right. Then they bested the Chargers, a squad that virtually every person and their mother believed was not going to secure a playoff victory this year. That their achievement was merely qualifying for the postseason. And they possessed the most inferior offensive line in PFF's history to even attempt winning a playoff game. And they were thoroughly dominated, the Chargers. Yet, it remained peculiarly a close contest. The same scenario with the Texans. Now, C.J. Stroud had one of the poorest outings you could possibly imagine in just a half alone. And yet, it remained a tight game for a significant portion of the proceedings. And then you secure a victory. What was the score? 10-7, or whatever it precisely was, against the Broncos, against Jared Stidham. Therefore, in numerous respects, the public simply holds that in considerably lower esteem compared to what the Seattle Seahawks accomplished against Matthew Stafford and the Rams, the club that the press was incessantly fortifying week after week after week after week after week after week as the premier team in the NFL, receiving nothing but lavish praise for Sean McVay, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford for MVP, and so on, etc. The Patriots conquered the Panthers, who nearly defeated the Rams on 2 occasions. Well, the Seattle Seahawks defeated the Rams on 2 occasions. There exists no... Well, no, they defeated the Rams twice. Okay, they defeated the Rams twice. They defeated the 49ers. They annihilated them and they conquered them to secure that top seed 2 weeks prior because of the bye. A team that also everyone was becoming exceedingly enthusiastic about, the 49ers. Everyone was expressing skepticism about the 49ers due to all their injuries. But hey, they're actually a formidable team. Look, they just defeated the Philadelphia Eagles on the road. And the Seahawks declared, "That's impressive. We're simply going to dismantle you. We are literally going to break you." And now here we are, reverting to doubting the Seattle Seahawks. Do you perceive how this operates? Do you see this? This is highly reminiscent of Colin's perspective when the Seahawks traveled to face the Washington Commanders because, again, the advantage of watching every game, every clip, reading every comment. But he stated, "I don't trust the Seahawks. They have to travel across the country and then play a football game." Laughter. "I don't believe they can accomplish that. It's like, what? They must go to Washington. They must board a plane, becoming the first team in NFL history to have to embark on a plane and fly to participate in a football game." And that was a contest in which they utterly destroyed and demolished the Washington Commanders. And I believe that was the game where Jaden Daniels sustained an injury, unfortunately, snorts, like dislocating his elbow. But that had no correlation with the outcome as the game was already a blowout. And thus, this peculiar skepticism still envelops the Seattle Seahawks team. And it possesses no correlation to a lack of faith in the New England Patriots. This is where I occupy such a distinctive position, because I defended the Patriots each and every week. I was vociferously proclaiming to the masses how exceptional this team is and how proficient they are. And on every occasion, people asserted, "Oh, observe how weak their schedule is." They'd say, "They aren't truly that proficient." And I would respond, No, I comprehend that argument. I do. And I employ that argument frequently. Then I continued stating, "That's precisely why you must watch the games. It's why you must watch the games. You must observe how they unfold. Drake May is legitimate. The Patriots are legitimate, etc., etc., etc." However, the Seattle Seahawks are unequivocally performing superior football. They simply are. They simply are. And therefore, maintaining belief in the Seattle Seahawks does not automatically equate to harboring doubts about the New England Patriots. I have belief in the Seattle Seahawks, arguably more intensely than any other commentator out there. To be perfectly clear, I have been generating as much Seattle Seahawks content as I possibly can due to the magnitude of belief I vested in them. I was not doing that concerning the Carolina Panthers. I was not doing that concerning the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I was not doing that concerning the Baltimore Ravens. I was doing it concerning the Seattle Seahawks. And I stated, entering that game against the Rams, that I believe in the Seahawks. I believe they are the superior team, etc., and that they should prevail, but I trust the Rams more. And then we must engage in an entire dialogue concerning what we signify by trust. And it's precisely like, I believe in the Seahawks, I believe in Sam Darnold, etc., but if we are going to descend into trust, who do you consider, in the moments of utmost consequence, who is more probable to be successful? Who is more likely to be successful the greatest number of instances out of 10? It's like, well, I trust the Rams more because I have witnessed Sean McVay, I have witnessed Matthew Stafford, etc. Thus, it's precisely that trust was merited, and it is logical. The Seahawks have not yet attained that trust. They have not been in that position yet. And so, it is logical. You cannot, it becomes merely false belief and false faith then, rather than authentic trust predicated upon genuine logic and rationale. And now the Seahawks have even begun to scratch that surface. You can trust the Seattle Seahawks. One thing you could articulate, I don't know. I don't know. They have provided answers. And that is why my perspective has been oriented this way since the previous week, is this. Unless Sam Darnold lays an absolute egg, where we are all simply observing this game and we are just like, wow, the Sam Darnold skeptics were validated today. That is definitive. The Seattle Seahawks are going to win this game. And the converse of that coin is if Drake May genuinely unleashes and has a performance where we conclude, that is the premier quarterback in the NFL, which is also a possibility, by the way. But if this game is merely a straightforward, evenly matched contest, then I do believe the Seattle Seahawks win this game. You employing a reference of Week 4, Carolina Panthers defeating them 42-13, that signifies absolutely nothing. That would mean then they struggled to conquer the Saints. Then they struggled to defeat the Falcons. So, utilizing this variety of material, any blowout of any inferior team or whatever, truly any overwhelming victory over any team, it signifies so little to me. And this is the complication with the Patriots. And listen, all teams derive benefit and suffer from this, by the way. But when we converse about the highest ranked offense or the highest ranked defense, like point differential, when you possess a multitude of games where you are genuinely administering some blowouts, those statistics become distorted. Against the Jets, 42-10. Against the Dolphins, 38-10. Against the Giants, 33-15. It's like possessing just a few of those games alone can propel you into the top 5. And then, even if you merely have standard, run-of-the-mill games, the sheer separation in those games is going to position you so advantageously to possess like a top 10 scoring defense and top 10 point differential. And so it's like, actually scrutinize the closer contests. Examine that initial game with the Miami Dolphins when it was 33-27. The Steelers 21-14. The Buffalo Bills 23-20. Scrutinize those games. Those games communicate more to you than a 42-10 game against the New York Jets. They simply do. They simply do. Thus, I still believe the conversations we are presently having, which is unsurprising given it's Super Bowl week, are somewhat scattered and don't entirely logically cohere. I also believe what Colin is reacting to is that everyone is exceptionally exhilarated about the Seattle Seahawks because they identify with the narrative more. And Sam Darnold is the narrative more so than the New England Patriots. That is not animosity towards the New England Patriots. That is not skepticism towards the New England Patriots. I do think that the general casual fan also, correct? I always employ this illustration perpetually. I use my mother as an example. But if my mother states, hey, we're watching this game, I'm like, who do you desire to win? Like, I'm 90. I haven't inquired of her yet. I will ask her, but I am almost 100% confident she will declare Seattle. Especially as soon as she learns about Sam Darnold's story and all that variety of material. She will not state, oh, I hope the Patriots win. She is not going to desire that. She is going to desire the Seattle Seahawks. She is going to desire Sam Darnold. She is going to adore that story. She is going to hear all about it. and she is going to be, emotionally affected by it. And there you have it. And obviously not everyone is my mother out there, but that would be intriguing. But there exist all different flavors of that. There exists a spectrum, a different range to all, various permutations of that experience. Colin has discussed that, how it's like it's effortless to cheer for the Lions and the Bills, these fan bases that have been enduring struggles perpetually, and et cetera, and that the masses can align behind them. Well, the masses can align behind the Seattle Seahawks, what they have constructed, and Sam Darnold in a manner that they are simply not going to do with the New England Patriots, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles, teams that have felt more established, who have prevailed, etc. But yeah, the New England Patriots are a formidable team. They do merit being present. They possess a formidable defense. They possess a formidable offense. They possess a formidable coaching staff. They possess a formidable quarterback. Yes, 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 yes. But a substantial portion of the belief in the Seattle Seahawks also originates from the fact that Sam Darnold has ostensibly been performing phenomenally. And people do not believe that Drake May has been performing phenomenally, particularly in these final 3 playoff games. Now, I don't believe it's his individual performance in terms of what he is capable of executing, and he is merely not executing it. I believe it's how the games have transpired and the defenses they have confronted. Well, the last time I verified, the Seattle Seahawks possess a defense that can perpetuate that pattern that has materialized with the New England Patriots offense. Whether we desire to emphasize Drake May or, the offense in its entirety, whatever, you believe that the Seattle Seahawks should be capable of replicating what we have witnessed the Texans, the Chargers, the Broncos accomplish. Okay, that's satisfactory. And then there also exists the belief that Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks will unquestionably appear superior to Jared Stidham and the Denver Broncos than C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans, and Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers. It's genuinely that elementary. It's genuinely that straightforward. This video I could have condensed into approximately 2 minutes, but those are merely my reflections. I would absolutely adore to hear yours. What do you all think concerning the Seattle Seahawks and the doubt that is infiltrating? The doubt that is infiltrating. It's intriguing. I appreciate it. You know why I appreciate it? Because it elevates the stakes. That's what provoked everyone's criticism of me last occasion, because I produced a grand, bravado-filled video when the Seattle Seahawks defeated the Commanders. People stated, "Why are you executing that? When the Chiefs defeated the Commanders, you downplayed it." And I responded, "I am amplifying it because people asserted that the Seahawks weren't even going to win that game. That's why I am amplifying it." So, it merely adds stakes. It becomes compelling. But inform me of your thoughts. I read every single comment. Therefore, whether you concur with me or dispute with me, either way, let's engage in some discussions. Let's engage in some debates. But ultimately, let's simply derive some enjoyment. And please do consider subscribing. We are constructing an amazing community here, and I would absolutely cherish to see you as part of it. I desire to build something to which we all generally feel connected, something that we are genuinely excited to be part of. I believe we are well on our path to accomplishing it. Please don't neglect to award this video a thumbs up, as it genuinely aids visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so profoundly. I will see you next time.